Ariel had never seen such grandeur or such hostility gathered in one place. Hundreds of armored wolves stood in semicircles around the marble courtyard, their cloaks snapping in the wind, their golden and amber eyes studying him like he was prey brought before the pack. His thin village cloak did nothing against the cold. "Kneel, human," one guard snapped. Ariel obeyed, pressing his palms to the icy stone. The cold burned. His heartbeat was loud enough to drown out the festival drums pounding from the distant streets. He tried not to look terrified. He failed. A hush rippled through the courtyard. The Alpha King had arrived. Boots struck stone with an authority that made the very air straighten. The crowd parted, bowing deeply, and the scent of frost pine and dominant alpha pheromones washed over Ariel so powerfully his breath hitched. King Valor of Moonspire was nothing like the stories told in border villages. Broad-shouldered beneath a cloak of moon-silver fur, tall enough to make warriors seem small beside him, his presence eclipsed all warmth. His golden eyes glowed faintly, alpha eyes, ancient and hungry. When he stopped in front of Ariel, the world narrowed to that single, merciless gaze. Fenris, the king's beta, bowed beside him. "Your Majesty, this is the tribute brought from the border village. Some claim he may be a dormant Omega." His tone held skepticism, though I detect nothing definite. "A dormant Omega?" Ariel swallowed hard. He had heard whispers during the journey. He didn't believe them. He couldn't. He was human, fragile, ordinary. The king stepped closer. He inhaled once, sharply, like scent alone was enough to judge a soul. Then he scoffed. "He smells human." A soft ripple of laughter broke through the crowd. Ariel lowered his gaze, shame blooming hot under his skin. He wanted to disappear, to dissolve into the stone floor and escape the weight of hundreds of alpha and beta eyes. King Valor's voice dropped to a cold hush. "Pathetic." Fenris shifted, uncomfortable, but said nothing. Ariel's heart clenched. He didn't know why the king's disgust hurt so sharply. He didn't owe this man anything, least of all his dignity. And yet, something inside him trembled, like a string stretched too tight. Valor's next words shattered it completely. "I do not mate with humans. Reject him." The world seemed to tilt, the fragile whisper of a bond, something Ariel didn't understand, something small and hopeful and terrifying, snapped like a dying ember crushed beneath a boot. A sharp pain stabbed his chest. He sucked in a breath, eyes wide. Valor didn't look back. He turned and began walking away, cloak billowing like a silver storm. The crowd followed, murmuring with disappointment, mockery, or disinterest, and Ariel remained kneeling on the cold stone, shaking. The moon rose slowly overhead, round and bright. A faint warmth spread across Ariel's collarbone. He glanced down. His birthmark, normally nothing more than a pale crescent, was glowing faintly, silver as moonlight. Soft, pulsing, alive. No one else saw it. No one else paid attention to the trembling human boy left behind. But the moon noticed, and somewhere deep in the temple vaults, a forgotten prophecy stirred. The festival continued long into the night, but Ariel saw none of it. After the rejection, he had been escorted to a small, drafty servant chamber in the eastern wing, far from the royal suites, far from the warmth of the hearths, far from anyone who might have shown him the slightest kindness. The guards didn't bother hiding their disdain. "Try not to freeze, human. Don't wander. Alphas get unpredictable during festivals. And don't draw attention. You won't survive it." Then the door slammed. Ariel stood alone in the cold room, breath clouding in the air. His chest still ached where the bond had snapped. He didn't understand it. He barely knew what a bond even felt like. But losing it felt like losing a piece of himself he never knew he carried. He rubbed at his collarbone. The faint silver glow had faded, leaving the birthmark looking ordinary again. Had he imagined it? Maybe it was just the cold making him delirious. He curled onto the straw-stuffed mattress, trying to ignore the distant music and laughter drifting from the palace courtyards. For a while he drifted into uneasy sleep, until the dream came. Moonlight filtered through heavy clouds, illuminating an endless silver forest. Trees grew impossibly tall, their leaves shimmering like broken stars. A soft mist curled around Ariel's ankles as he stepped forward. He wasn't cold here. He wasn't afraid. "Child of the moon," a voice whispered. Ariel froze. A figure emerged from the mist, tall, radiant, eyes glowing with pale light. Their presence made the air shimmer. Shapes of feathers and wolf fur wavered around them, as though they existed in many forms at once. The moon goddess. Ariel dropped to his knees, trembling. What, why me? I'm just a human. I'm no one. A gentle hand tilted his chin upward. You have always been mine. Your blood carries my light. Your heart carries my promise. I don't understand. You will. Soon. The goddess's voice softened to a sad murmur. Your alpha has turned away from destiny. But destiny does not bend easily. The forest darkened, shadows spreading. Danger approaches, she warned. Your awakening has begun, and those who fear prophecy will seek your ruin. Ariel's pulse pounded. Then what do I do? Survive the night. Her form shattered into silver feathers. Ariel gasped awake. He sat bolt upright, clutching the thin blanket. His skin felt hot, feverish. The birthmark was glowing again, brighter, sharper, almost painful. Before he could process anything, a low, violent growl echoed from the distant corridors. His breath caught. That wasn't a guard. That was an alpha. Then another growl. Closer. And then, he felt it. A wave of heat and pressure washed through the palace, the air vibrating with raw alpha instinct. It hit him so hard he doubled over, grabbing his chest. What is this? The scent in the air was sharp and intoxicating. Nothing like the mocking wolves from earlier. This was stronger, more dangerous, more primal. Unmistakably. The Alpha King's scent. It burned through him like wildfire. Ariel staggered to the door, gripping the wood until his knuckles whitened. His senses were blurring, overwhelmed by the oppressive heat rolling through the palace halls. Why does it feel like this? Another growl, a snarl this time, ripped through the eastern wing, louder, closer, hunting. Ariel froze, heart hammering. The goddess's warning echoed in his mind. Survive the night. And somewhere in the dark halls beyond his door, King Valor, cold, unshakable, cruel King Valor, had succumbed to the earliest surge of rut, triggered by something, by someone, by him. Ariel's blood ran cold, because the sound coming down the hall, the heavy footsteps, the deep animalistic breathing, they were heading straight for his room. The footsteps grew heavier, slow, deliberate, predatory. Each impact vibrated through the stone floor, matching the frantic rhythm of Ariel's heartbeat. He backed away from the door, breath shaking. This can't be happening. Why would the king, why would any alpha come here? A guttural snarl rolled through the hallway, not angry, not amused, something far more primal. The scent hit next, pine frost and something molten beneath it, thick enough to make the air feel heavy. It seeped under the door like smoke, wrapping around Ariel's senses until his knees nearly buckled. He slapped a hand over his mouth, trying to steady himself. This wasn't normal. This wasn't possible. Unless... No. He refused to believe that. The doorknob rattled. Ariel stumbled further back, hitting the edge of the small table. Stop. Go away, please. The rattling stopped. Silence stretched. For a heartbeat, he prayed the presence had left. A low voice, cracked with strain, shattered that hope. Open the door. Ariel's blood froze. He knew that voice. He would know it even in death. King Valor. But this voice was different. Thick, rough, raw, like a beast barely held on a leash. Ariel pressed himself against the wall, shaking violently. Your Majesty? Why are you... A snarl cut him off. Open it. Now. Ariel squeezed his eyes shut. I can't. You rejected me. You told everyone. Ariel? The sound of his name in Valor's voice, strained, hungry, half lost to instinct, made the air crackle with something dangerous. I didn't call for you, Ariel whispered, voice barely breath. I didn't do anything. Another snarl, harsher, tore through the corridor. Something slammed against the door, hard enough to make the hinges groan. You triggered my rut. Ariel's breath shattered. That's impossible, he croaked. I'm human. I can't affect an alpha. Especially not you. You're not human. The words were a growl so deep it rumbled through the wood. I smelled it. Valor's breathing grew heavier, as if fighting something inside himself. Your scent changed. Faint, but enough. Ariel's stomach twisted. The goddess's warning. The light on his skin. The dreams. The unbearable heat rolling through his veins. Please, he whispered, voice cracking. Just leave me alone. Silence. Then, I can't. The admission sounded ripped from Valor's throat, like it cost him something to speak it. Something heavy slammed into the door again, the king's hand, or perhaps his entire body. the wood splintered. Ariel covered his ears, tears burning, desperate to block out the storm outside and the storm rising inside himself. Vaylor, stop. You're not in your right mind. I know exactly what I'm doing, the king snarled. Another crash. The door cracked open at the top, just enough for golden eyes, glowing, feral, terrifying, to appear through the darkness. Ariel's breath died in his lungs. Those eyes locked on him, and for the first time since their meeting, the Alpha King looked afraid. Not of Ariel, but of himself. Don't come closer, Ariel cried. Vaylor's claws, actual claws, dug into the broken wood as he resisted the urge to break through. I tried to reject you. His voice was almost pained. I tried, and now, his breath hitched sharply. My body refuses to obey me. Ariel's world spun. This wasn't supposed to happen. He wasn't supposed to be anything more than a tribute offered and discarded, and yet... Vaylor's voice dropped to a whisper that was almost a plea. Ariel, open the door before I break it. The wood creaked, the lock trembled, and Ariel knew. If the door gave way, he would be trapped with an alpha in the throes of an uncontrollable instinct, and an awakening inside himself he didn't understand. The lock finally snapped. A sharp, metallic ping echoed through the room, and the door shuddered under the weight of the Alpha King's strength. Splinters rained to the floor like scattered frost. Ariel's breath caught in his throat. There was nowhere to run. The room was small, window barred, walls solid stone. His pulse thundered in his ears as the door gave a final groan. Move away, he whispered to himself. Move, move. But his legs wouldn't obey. Fear rooted him in place, trembling. The door burst inward. Vaylor stood in the threshold, breath ragged, chest rising and falling with barely controlled force. His silver cloak was gone, abandoned somewhere in the corridors. His hair was disheveled, his gloves shredded, and faint claw marks tore through the sleeves of his tunic as though he had battled his own instincts. Golden eyes locked onto Ariel, bright, predatory, strangely haunted. Ariel pressed his back against the wall, shaking violently. You're scaring me. I know, Vaylor growled, voice low and rough. I know. I don't want... He stopped, jaw clenching. I didn't come here by choice. Ariel stared at him, panic clawing up his chest. Your Majesty, please listen. This is a mistake. I'm not what you think. I'm not an Omega. You scent of moonfire. Ariel froze. Moon. Vaylor stepped inside, each movement forced, like wading through wet stone. He wasn't moving with his usual perfect control. He was fighting every step. You hid your nature, the king growled. I didn't hide anything, Ariel cried. I didn't even know. Vaylor inhaled sharply, hands curling into fists at his sides. His claws extended involuntarily. You triggered my rut, he repeated, voice fraying at the edges. You awakened something ancient inside this palace, something I have no defense against. Ariel's heart hammered. I don't want any of this. I don't want to be your mate. A sound tore out of Vaylor, half snarl, half wounded breath. Do you think I wanted... Ariel flinched. Vaylor stalked forward another step. Do you think I wanted to be bound to someone I rejected? His voice cracked like ice under pressure. Do you think I wanted prophecy clawing at my throat, telling me I'm fated to a human? Ariel gasped. What prophecy? Vaylor didn't answer. He was too close now, just a few strides away, muscles tense, sweat beading on his brow despite the cold. Ariel's own body felt painfully hot, overwhelmed by the Alpha's presence. A deep ache blossomed behind his heart, terrifying, unfamiliar. Vaylor, he whispered. The king's head snapped up at the sound of his name. His glowing eyes softened for half a heartbeat, just a flicker, then tightened with something like agony. I told myself I would never go near you again. Vaylor stepped forward. But my instincts, my wolf, they are pulling me to you with chains I cannot break. Ariel's breath stuttered. I don't want to be hurt. Something in Vaylor froze. The words struck deeper than claws ever could. For a moment, just one, his expression cracked, revealing raw guilt beneath the beast. I won't hurt you. You already did, Ariel whispered. Vaylor flinched like he'd been struck. The tension broke, and the king suddenly tore his gaze away, staggering back a half step, breath shaking violently as though he'd hit an invisible boundary. Stay where you are, he rasped. I'm holding on by a thread. Ariel didn't move. Vaylor's claws dug into his palms, His pupils narrowed, his breath turned shallow, sharp, and then his knees buckled. The Alpha King dropped to one knee, gripping the floor as though it were the only thing anchoring him to his sanity. "Ariel," he ground out, voice trembling, "get away from me." Ariel stared, horrified. This wasn't the cold king who rejected him. This was a man fighting his own nature, fighting a pull powerful enough to shatter stone. Ariel took one hesitant step forward. "Don't," Valor snarled, eyes blazing. "If you come closer, I won't be able to stop myself." "But you're in pain." "I can endure it," he snapped. But the tremor in his hands betrayed him. Ariel's eyes widened. The goddess's words echoed like a distant bell. "Your awakening has begun." Valor, trembling on the floor, looked up with something like fear, not of Ariel, but of what he might do to him. "Ariel, please." The plea wasn't royal. It wasn't commanding. It was human. And that terrified Ariel more than anything, because for the first time, the Alpha King wasn't the danger in the room. The danger might be the bond forming between them. The room pulsed with heat and tension. Valor still knelt on the floor, claws digging into the stone, breath ragged and uneven. Ariel had never seen an alpha look like this, caught between instinct and restraint, power and fear, especially not a king. "Don't come closer," Valor warned again, voice strained. "I'm losing hold." Ariel hovered where he stood, heart pounding. He wanted to run. He wanted to help. He didn't know what he wanted anymore. The air suddenly shifted. A cold wind swept through the room, extinguishing the lantern flame in an instant. Shadows deepened, swirling in the corners. Something ancient brushed against Ariel's mind, and he gasped at the familiar sensation. Moonlight. A soft glow appeared behind Valor, followed by the muted chime of ceremonial charms. The high priest had arrived. Lumerus stepped into the fractured doorway, with the calm of a man accustomed to danger. His long silver robes billowed with each step, the sacred sigils embroidered across his sleeves glowing faintly in the dark. His presence didn't just fill the room, it steadied it. "Your Majesty," Lumerus said quietly. "You should not be here." Valor growled without looking up. "Too late. I see." Lumerus's tone held no judgment, only knowledge. "Your rut has been triggered prematurely. That alone is alarming." He turned his pale gaze to Ariel. "But the cause is unprecedented." Ariel swallowed. "I didn't do anything, I swear." "You did nothing intentionally," the priest said gently. "But your awakening has begun," Valor snarled, attempting to rise, but his legs buckled. Lumerus raised a hand, and a soft ripple of moonlight pressed the Alpha King back down, not forcibly, but like a calming hand on a frenzied animal. Valor's breathing steadied only slightly. "Tell me what is happening," Ariel whispered, voice trembling. Lumerus studied him with a mixture of awe and sadness. "Your birthmark," he said. "Let me see it." Ariel hesitated, but pulled the collar of his tunic aside. The crescent mark glowed faintly beneath his skin, like a sliver of living moonlight. Valor's pupils contracted sharply, breath catching. Lumerus exhaled. "As I feared." "What?" Ariel asked. "What does it mean?" Lumerus stepped closer, his expression grave. "You are not human, Ariel. Not entirely." Ariel felt the floor tilt beneath him. "But I've lived my whole life as one. No shifting, no strength, no scent." "Dormant," Lumerus corrected softly. "Your bloodline was sealed, hidden. But seals break." He glanced toward the moon shining through the cracked shutters. "Especially under a full moon." Ariel shook his head, overwhelmed. "What am I, then?" "A divine Omega," Lumerus murmured. "One born only once every 3 centuries." Silence crashed over the room. Even Valor froze. Lumerus continued, voice steady. "You carry the moon goddess's blessing, and her curse. Your awakening releases pheromones that resonate with alphas of the highest rank." His eyes flicked to Valor meaningfully, particularly royal ones. Ariel felt sick. "So this is my fault?" "No." Lumerus's voice sharpened. "This is destiny. One neither of you can escape." Valor's claws gouged deeper into the stone. "I rejected him, and in doing so," Lumerus said calmly, "you shattered the very bond meant to temper your instincts. The backlash was inevitable." Ariel backed up until he hit the wall. "So what happens now?" Lumerus folded his hands. "For the king to regain control, you must be separated. Immediately." Valor snarled sharply, an instinctive protest, but Lumerus flicked his fingers in a sigil of command, and the Alpha fell silent. Chest heaving. You will come with me, Ariel. Ariel hesitated. He looked at Valor, dangerous, trembling, powerful, broken. When their eyes met, something flickered between them, not lust, not hatred, recognition, and fear. For the first time, Ariel realized the truth. Valor wasn't just losing control because of him. He was losing control over the possibility of losing him again. Lumerus touched Ariel's shoulder gently. Come. The night is not done, and fate is moving quickly. Ariel nodded, though his legs shook. As he stepped toward the priest, Valor's voice, hoarse, strained, desperate, broke through the quiet. Ariel. Ariel stopped. The Alpha King lifted his head, eyes burning with something that chilled Ariel more than anger ever could. Don't leave. The words trembled, begged. Ariel's breath hitched, but Lumerus's grip tightened. You must. As the priest guided him out, Ariel glanced back one last time. Valor knelt alone on the cold floor, an Alpha King brought to his knees not by battle, not by politics, but by a bond he could neither deny nor claim, and destiny had only just begun to tighten its hold on them both. Ariel had never been inside the inner palace halls before. He had imagined grand corridors, gleaming light, marble pillars. Not this. Not the silent, dimly lit passageways that twisted behind the gilded walls like hidden arteries. Not the ever-lingering scent of incense and cold moonstone. Not the heavy tapestries etched with ancient prophecies he had never known existed. Lumerus led him through a secret archway and down a spiraling staircase carved from pale blue stone. Ariel's fingers brushed the wall as they descended. It felt cool, almost alive. Where are we going? Ariel whispered. The Temple of the Moon, Lumerus said. A sacred place, protected, hidden, safe. Safe from what? From the king, the priest answered without turning. From the court. From those who would want your power for themselves? Ariel shivered. They reached a massive circular chamber beneath the palace. Silver lanterns lined the walls, illuminating a floor engraved with a crescent sigil identical to the mark on Ariel's skin. A faint vibration thrummed under his feet. The air itself recognized him. Lumerus took a deep breath. Sit in the center. Ariel obeyed, lowering himself slowly onto the glowing stone. The moment he sat, the sigil pulsed, bright enough to cast dancing shadows across the chamber. His birthmark burned. Ah! Ariel pressed a hand to his collarbone. Do not fight it, Lumerus warned gently. Your awakening is already in motion. This chamber will help stabilize you. I don't understand what's happening to me. Lumerus knelt beside him. You carry divine Omega blood. It remained sealed to protect you. Protect me from what? From the world, Lumerus said simply. From ambitious nobles, from hunters, from alphas strong enough to feel your destined pull. Ariel thought of Valor collapsing on the floor, trembling, fighting himself. A pang struck deep in his chest, sharp, confusing. Is that why the king? Yes, Lumerus said quietly. Your presence struck him harder than any battle wound. Ariel lowered his gaze. He didn't want me. Want, the priest murmured, has nothing to do with destiny. Ariel clenched his trembling hands. Is the moon goddess truly involved in this? The goddess marks only those meant to impact history. She does not choose lightly. Lumerus studied him with a soft, almost pitying gaze. Your soul carries her light, your body carries her blessing, and your heart, he paused. Your heart carries the bond she forged. Ariel swallowed hard. With the king, with the only alpha strong enough to match your lineage, Lumerus confirmed. A divine Omega's fated mate is always a ruler. Ariel stared at the floor, breath quickening. It felt too big, too heavy, too cruel. I don't want to be tied to someone who despises me, he whispered. Lumerus's expression darkened, not with judgment, but with sorrow. Destiny does not ask whom you choose to love, Ariel. He stood slowly. But it always asks whom you choose to trust. Before Ariel could answer, the chamber's lanterns flickered. A wave of dizziness washed over him. The sigil beneath him brightened. Warmth coiled through his spine, spiraling outward like silver fire. His breath hitched. What's happening? Your Omega nature is awakening, Lumerus said urgently. Remain still. Do not panic. But panic surged anyway. The chamber filled with light, silver, shimmering, blinding. The air pressed around him, thick with ancient power. His heartbeat echoed like a drum in his ears. His body felt weightless. His mind swirled with images he couldn't understand. A moon eclipsed in shadow, a child glowing like starlight, a king kneeling before a throne of silver fire, then a voice, soft, familiar, warm. "Do not fear the bond, my child. Fear the path without it." The world snapped back. Ariel collapsed forward, gasping. The sigil dimmed, and the silver light faded from his eyes. "Breathe," Lumeris urged, catching him. Slowly. Ariel trembled violently as the last wave of energy ebbed. "That was only the beginning," Lumeris said softly. "Your body is transitioning. Your scent is changing. By dawn, every alpha in the palace will know." Ariel's eyes widened in horror. "No, I can't." "Which," Lumeris continued calmly, "means we have less than an hour before the king breaks free and comes for you." Ariel's blood turned to ice. "He was still resisting when I left him," Lumeris murmured. "But his control will not last forever. The bond is pulling him, harder than he can bear." Ariel grabbed the priest's sleeve. "What do I do?" Lumeris looked at him with grave certainty. "You must decide whether to hide." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "Or face the Alpha who will stop at nothing to claim what destiny insists is his." The palace trembled, not metaphorically. Stone walls shook, lanterns rattled in their iron brackets, and the servants fled screaming down the corridors. Deep beneath the throne wing, in a private chamber reinforced for feral alphas, King Valor was on his knees. Claw marks gouged the marble floor, chains forged from enchanted moonsteel, a metal meant to restrain even the strongest alpha, were stretched to their limit. One link had already cracked, and the last thread of his self-control was fraying. "Your Majesty!" a guard cried from behind the barred door. "Hold out a little longer! The royal mage is on his way!" Valor didn't hear him. Or rather, he did, but the words were meaningless compared to the single thought pounding through his skull. Where is he? Silver fire pulsed behind the king's eyes as the bond raged inside him. It clawed at him, dragged at him, pulled him toward one scent, one heartbeat, one name. Ariel. The Omega's awakening had hit him like a storm, ripping away every barrier he had built, every belief he had clung to. He had rejected the boy, no, the Omega, because he thought him human, powerless, unsuitable, and now destiny, or the moon goddess's curse, mocked him with the truth, his mate, his fated Omega, his break. Valor snarled, pulling against the shackles until his muscles tore, then healed, then tore again. "Your Majesty, please, open." "The door, sire, we can't." The chain snapped. The explosion of power that followed knocked every guard unconscious. The door burst off its hinges and skidded across the hallway floor. Valor stepped out, golden eyes burning like wildfire. The palace corridors reeked of fear and faint traces of Ariel's newly awakened scent. Subtle, fragile, hauntingly sweet. It lingered like a trail of silver dust, and it made his blood boil. His wolf surged beneath his skin. "Find him, claim him, protect him. He is ours." Valor slammed a hand against the wall to steady himself, breath heaving. His voice came out hoarse, half feral. "Ariel, where did they take you?" He staggered forward, gripping the stone. He could barely differentiate between the bond's instinct and his own thoughts. Every alpha sense he had, sharpened, narrowed, focused. Down the south corridor, past the locked gates, toward the depths of the palace no king had walked in decades. He followed the scent, metal barriers melted under his touch. Locked doors shattered when he snarled at them. Guards trying to restrain him flinched before they could even speak. It wasn't the king approaching them. It was a force of nature. Meanwhile, in the moon temple, Ariel flinched as a tremor rippled through the stone floor. What was that?" Lumeris's expression faltered for the first time. "The king," he whispered. "He's awake, and the palace wards are falling." Ariel's heart pounded in his chest. Why? Why is he coming here?" "Because you are calling to him," Lumeris said softly. "I didn't do anything." "You breathed," the priest replied. "That is enough." Ariel staggered backward as another tremor shook the temple. Lanterns swung wildly, silver flames dancing like panicked spirits. "Hide me," Ariel begged. "Please, I can't face him like this. There is no hiding from a mate bond, child." Lumeris's voice was gentle but unyielding. "Not when destiny has already chosen." The temple doors groaned. A distant roar echoed through the underground halls. a sound that was both wolf and man, wrath and desperation blended into something terrifyingly beautiful. Ariel's knees weakened. Lumerus turned to him. You must decide. Right now. Ariel's throat tightened. Decide what? Whether you will meet him standing. A third tremor. Dust rained from the ceiling. Or kneeling. Ariel's breath hitched. I don't want to bow to someone who rejected me. Then stand, Lumerus said simply. For once the king reaches you, he will kneel. Ariel's eyes widened. What? Why would he? Before he could finish, the massive temple doors slammed open. Silver light flooded the chamber, and the Alpha King stepped inside. His eyes locked onto Ariel instantly, wild, hungry, shaken, terrified, relieved, like a dying man seeing water for the first time. Ariel froze. Valor took one step forward, then another. Each footfall echoed like thunder. Lumerus quietly stepped aside. Ariel. Valor's voice cracked, torn between authority and something raw. The words broke. He sank to one knee. The king of wolves knelt before the boy he had once rejected, and lifted his gaze. Humbled, trembling, conquered by destiny itself. I came for you. For a moment, the temple was silent. Only the flutter of silver lanterns filled the space. Ariel stood frozen, breath quick and uneven, staring at the Alpha King kneeling before him, a sight so impossible, so unreal, that his mind refused to believe it. Valor looked up at him like a man drowning. Ariel. The king's voice broke on his name. I can't stand, not until you allow me. Ariel's throat tightened. Get up, he whispered shakily. You're the king. Not before you, Valor answered, voice low and hoarse. Not anymore. The bond hummed between them, a soft magnetic pull, warm and terrifying, the same pull that had torn through Valor's chains, and now tethered him to his knees. Ariel took a step back. Valor inhaled sharply, as if even that tiny distance physically hurt him. His hands curled into fists against the stone floor. Please, the king said softly. Don't run from me. Ariel's heart thudded painfully. You're the one who ran first. Valor flinched. He bowed his head, not out of dominance but shame. I thought you were human, he said quietly. The elders told me the mate bond was impossible, that the moon goddess wouldn't tie me to someone so fragile. The words should have stung, but Valor's expression was shattered, broken with regret. I was wrong, he whispered. Painfully, unforgivably wrong. Ariel swallowed hard. So now that you know I'm not human, suddenly you want me? No. Valor lifted his head, eyes blazing gold. I wanted you from the moment I saw you. That was the problem. Ariel froze. Valor's voice dropped, almost a growl. You don't know how close I came to losing control in that throne room. Every breath you took, every glance, I couldn't think. I couldn't rule. His hands trembled. I rejected you because I feared myself. Ariel's breath hitched. Warmth rose in his cheeks. The king slowly rose to his feet, not in dominance, but in reverence, and stepped closer. He moved like a man approaching a sacred thing. Ariel instinctively pressed back against the moonstone pillar behind him. Valor stopped a mere hand's breadth away, chest rising and falling sharply. Your scent, he whispered, voice strained. It's changed. Ariel's pulse quickened. Don't come closer. Valor's jaw clenched with effort. I'm trying, he said through his teeth, trying to give you space. But the bond. His hand pressed over his heart, as if the organ itself rebelled. It's pulling me to you with every breath you take. He reached out, then froze, palm hovering just inches from Ariel's cheek. I won't touch you without your permission. The restraint in his voice, tight, trembling, made Ariel's knees feel weak. You're not acting like a king, Ariel whispered. Valor lowered his head slightly, eyes softening. No, I'm acting like a mate who nearly destroyed the only person fate ever gave him. Ariel's breath caught in his throat. Valor leaned in, slowly, painfully controlled, until their foreheads almost touched. I'm sorry, the king whispered, for rejecting you, for hurting you, for making you feel unwanted when you are. His voice cracked. Everything I was meant to protect. Ariel felt the warmth of his breath, the tremor in his voice, the sincerity in every word. Slowly, hesitantly, Ariel lifted a hand. Valor stilled completely, as if the world stopped turning. Ariel's fingers brushed the king's cheek. Valor inhaled sharply, eyes closing, expression softening in relief so raw it nearly broke Ariel's heart. "I'm still angry," Ariel murmured. "You should be." Valor leaned, just barely, into the touch. "And I don't trust you. You don't have to," the king whispered. "Just let me earn it." The bond hummed again, gentle this time, warm like moonlight settling around them. Valor drew back only enough to look Ariel in the eyes. "Say the word," he murmured, voice deep and steady, "and I will leave you alone tonight. No matter how much it tears me apart." Ariel hesitated. He should tell him to go. He should push him away. But when he looked into Valor's eyes, fierce, kingly, desperate, reverent, a truth sparked inside him. The king wasn't trying to claim him. He was asking. Slowly, Ariel whispered, "Stay." Valor exhaled shakily, as if those 4 letters unraveled him. He bowed his head and pressed it gently against Ariel's. Not a kiss, not a claim, but a soft, intimate touch meant only for mates. A promise, a plea, a beginning. "I'll stay," the king breathed. "As long as you'll have me." The temple grew unbearably quiet. Ariel could hear nothing but the sound of Valor's breath and the heavy pounding of his own heart. The king stood merely inches away, their foreheads touching, the warmth between them fragile and electric. Valor's voice was a whisper against Ariel's skin. "You said to stay," a soft inhale. "But I don't want to take more than you offer." Ariel lifted his eyes. The king, the fearsome alpha who commanded armies, looked at him like a man terrified of breaking a priceless thing. "Valor," Ariel whispered, barely trusting his own voice. "Why does it hurt to look at you and want you to stay? And also hate that I want it? Because the bond is cruel," the king murmured, "and destiny rarely chooses gently." He raised a hand, moving slowly enough that Ariel could stop him at any moment. When Ariel didn't pull away, Valor cupped his cheek with a palm searingly warm, thumb brushing just beneath his eye. Ariel's breath stuttered. The king leaned in, then stopped. Their lips were a hair's breadth apart, close enough that Ariel felt the faintest brush of breath, the tremble of restraint in Valor's body. "I want to kiss you," Valor whispered, breath unsteady. "But I won't unless you—" Ariel closed the distance. It was a soft kiss, small and uncertain. But it struck through Valor like lightning. The king froze, then exhaled a broken sound, gentle and aching, and lifted his other hand to cradle Ariel's face with the kind of reverence holy texts were written about. He kissed back slowly, carefully, like he was afraid Ariel would shatter if he touched him too roughly. Like he had waited lifetimes for that single breath of closeness. Ariel's fingers curled into the king's tunic, pulling him closer without meaning to. Valor deepened the kiss by barely a fraction, a soft, lingering pressure that sent warmth rushing through Ariel's entire body. There was no dominance in it, no hunger to claim, just yearning, gratitude. A hesitant, desperate hope. When they finally parted, Valor rested his forehead against Ariel's again, breath trembling. "I wasn't supposed to have you," he murmured. "I thought the gods denied me a mate entirely." His thumb brushed Ariel's lower lip. "But then you appeared, and I feared wanting you more than I have ever feared war." Ariel's cheeks were warm. His heart felt too big for his chest. "That kiss," Valor whispered, voice roughened with emotion, "was worth every chain I broke to reach you." Ariel swallowed hard. "You're too intense." "I'm an alpha king," Valor said softly. "Intensity is the only way I know how to love." Ariel blinked, startled. "Love?" Valor stiffened, as if he realized he said too much too soon. "I mean," he corrected awkwardly, "whatever this is between us. Whatever the bond is doing to me." Ariel touched the front of his tunic again, lightly tugging. Valor's breath caught. "Don't take it back," Ariel whispered. "Not after that kiss." Something in the king's expression broke open, not in pain, but in relief. He leaned his forehead gently to Ariel's cheek and breathed out a quiet, trembling, "Then I won't." The kiss still lingered on Ariel's lips, warm, unreal, frightening, and thrilling all at once. But the moment it ended, the world did not pause. The temple's moonstone veins flickered violently, pulsing in time with Ariel's heartbeat. Lumeris took one look and stepped back with a gasp. "It has begun," the priest whispered. "The divine Omega's instincts. They're awakening." Ariel staggered, gripping the pillar for balance. His body felt too warm, too light, too aware of the presence standing inches from him. Valor's gaze snapped to him instantly. Ariel. He reached out, instinct rushing forward like a tidal wave. Lumerus sharply raised a hand. Do not touch him. The king's entire body tensed. Ariel swallowed. Why not? Because, Lumerus said gravely, your bond is volatile. If he touches you again while your aura is shifting. The priest hesitated. What? Ariel whispered. Valor's voice dropped, dangerously soft. He will imprint on me. Ariel froze. Imprint. A word whispered only in old myths. A bond formed not by desire or decision, but by instinct, and fate sealing together in one irreversible moment. Ariel's pulse quickened. What happens if you become bound to him in a way no magic can sever? Lumerus said. Your emotions would echo each other. Your pain would be shared. Your instincts would align. And him? Ariel asked. Valor answered instead, eyes intense, glowing faintly gold. I would become incapable of harming you, of leaving you, of choosing anything over you. Ariel's breath caught. That sounds terrifying. For a king, Lumerus agreed. It is. Valor didn't deny it. He kept his eyes on Ariel, as if one wrong movement would shatter the boy like glass. That's why I must control myself. The king exhaled shakily. And why you must stay away from me until the transition settles. But Ariel stepped closer. Control yourself, he said quietly. You broke enchanted chains to reach me. Valor's jaw tightened. And I would break kingdoms if something touched you tonight. The admission sent a shiver down Ariel's spine. Lumerus glared. Your Majesty, this protectiveness is dangerous. It's instinct, Valor growled. Then, softer, and I'm barely holding it back. Ariel looked at him, really looked at him, the king who had rejected him, the wolf who had hunted for him, the man who kissed him like he mattered. Then why are you stepping away from me now? Ariel whispered. Valor shut his eyes for a long moment. Because I want you too much, he said, voice trembling with honesty. Because if I touch you again, I won't be able to stop. And you deserve a choice. Ariel's heart pounded painfully. He'd never heard an alpha speak like that, not pleading, not dominating, but desperate to protect the very person he wanted. Lumerus held his breath. The temple vibrated with building power. Your aura is rising again, the priest warned. If it spikes, the palace will feel it. The entire Alpha Guard. You must leave this chamber, now. Valor turned instantly. I'll get him out. No, Lumerus snapped. You cannot be near him. The king's growl rumbled low. You expect me to let him wander alone while every alpha in the palace sense a divine Omega awakening? Ariel's chest tightened. Is that really? Yes, both men said at once. Every alpha in the palace. Sensing him. Right now, fear fluttered in his ribs, but so did something stronger, fiercer. Ariel stepped toward Valor again. Lumerus hissed, Don't. Valor backed up fast, breath sharp. Ariel, don't come closer. Why? Ariel whispered. The king's voice dropped to a rough, helpless murmur. Because I am still on my knees inside. Because I am one breath from begging you to imprint on me. Because everything in me is screaming to protect you, hide you, hold you, keep you. He stopped himself, breathing hard. Ariel stared, his cheeks warmed, his pulse raced. Valor. Ariel's voice softened. You kissed me like you meant it. I did. You kneel for me. I would kneel again. You broke every chain in the palace to get to me. I would break 1,000 more. Ariel drew a breath that felt too big for his lungs. Then let me choose, he whispered. Valor froze. Ariel stepped closer. Slow, deliberate, heart in his throat. This time Valor didn't move away. He didn't touch him either. He just stood there, trembling, breath caught in his throat, letting Ariel close the distance on his own terms, and Ariel lifted his hand. Slowly. And rested it over the king's racing heart. Valor's entire body shuddered. Lumerus gasped. Ariel! But it was too late. A pulse of silver light exploded from Ariel's palm. Valor caught his breath, half pain, half wonder, as the light swept through him, binding something ancient and unspoken between them. The king looked down at Ariel, with an expression so raw, so reverent, so shaken, that it made the world feel small. Ariel? His voice trembled. What have you done? Ariel met his gaze, breathing fast. I told you, he whispered. You rejected me once. His fingers curled into Valor's tunic. I won't let you do it again. The pulse of silver light faded, but the air between them did not soften. If anything, it tightened. Valor's breath shook as he stared at the hand still pressed over his heart. Ariel felt the king's heartbeat. Wild, uneven, answering his own. Ariel, Valor whispered, voice breaking with restraint. You don't know what you've just done. I know exactly what I did, Ariel said quietly. I chose you. The king closed his eyes as if the words hit him like a blow. Then he opened them, gold, burning, reverent, undone. I can't hold back anymore. Then don't. It was Ariel who stepped into him, closing the distance, their bodies aligning in a way that felt inevitable. Valor inhaled sharply, hands hovering near Ariel's back but not touching. Tell me, the king murmured. Not to touch you, Ariel swallowed. I won't. The sound that slipped from Valor's throat was almost a growl, soft, hungry, pained by longing. And then he pulled Ariel into his arms. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't rough. It was desperate. Ariel gasped softly as the king buried his face against his neck, shuddering as if finally breathing for the first time. You're sent, Valor's voice trembled. Don't run from me now. I'm right here. Valor tilted his head up, eyes hooded, breath unsteady, and kissed him. Not soft this time, not cautious. Their mouths met with a heat that stole Ariel's breath. The kiss deepened, slow at first, then hungry, then unbearably tender again when Ariel's fingers slid into the king's hair. A soft sound escaped Ariel's throat. Surprise, need, something he didn't have words for. Valor froze at the sound. Ariel, his voice was wrecked. We need to leave this room before your aura pulls half the palace to us. Ariel's cheeks burned. Where? I'll take you somewhere, safe. Valor cupped his cheek again, thumb brushing slow circles, somewhere no one will dare follow. Ariel's breath hitched. Just us? The king nodded once. And what happens there? Ariel whispered. Valor leaned close, lips brushing Ariel's temple, voice low and rough with honesty. Only what you ask for. Ariel's heart pounded so hard it hurt. He didn't speak. He simply took Valor's hand. The king let out a long, trembling breath. And that was all the permission he needed. In one sweep of silver motion, Valor lifted Ariel into his arms, effortless, secure, protective in a way that made warmth bloom in Ariel's chest. The temple doors closed behind them with a soft thud. Lumerus bowed his head, whispering a blessing neither of them heard. As Valor carried Ariel through the quiet torchlit corridors, the bond hummed between them, deep, ancient, consuming. Each heartbeat echoed the other, each breath tangled together. The king's voice brushed Ariel's ear, low as a vow. Tonight you are mine, and I am yours. Ariel's fingers curled against his chest. Take me somewhere the world can't reach. Valor tightened his hold, eyes blazing with fierce devotion. I already am. The door to the king's private chambers closed behind them. The candles flickered out. The night took them, and the bond chose the rest. Ariel woke slowly. Warmth pressed around him, soft sheets, heavy blankets, the faint scent of moon mint incense. And beneath all of it, a scent that was unmistakably the king's. He blinked, vision blurred at first, then sharpening enough to see the carved wooden canopy above the bed. Intricate, ancient, marked with royal crests. Not the temple, not his attic room. The king's chamber. Ariel's breath hitched. Before he could move, an arm tightened gently around his waist, large, warm, steady, drawing him back against a solid chest. Valor. The memory of last night rushed through him in fragments. The temple's silver light, the king's trembling restraint, the heat of their kiss, the door closing behind them. Then darkness. A flush crept up Ariel's neck. He didn't try to move again. Valor stirred behind him, breath brushing the back of Ariel's neck with a soft, involuntary sound. Half sigh, half content growl. Ariel, the king murmured in a sleep-rough voice. Ariel swallowed. I'm awake. Valor's arm tightened once more, protective, instinctive, before he pulled back enough to see Ariel's face. He looked different in the morning light, less regal, less terrifying, more human. The gold in his eyes softened as he studied Ariel's expression. Are you afraid? He asked quietly. Ariel shook his head. No, but he wasn't entirely calm either. His pulse was racing, his cheeks warm, his thoughts tangled. Valor reached out, brushing a strand of Ariel's hair behind his ear with a gentleness that did not match the strength in his hands. You're thinking too much. I have a lot to think about. That, Valor admitted softly, is fair. A long moment passed between them. Quiet, intimate, filled with unspoken things. Finally, Ariel asked, "What happens now?" Valor sat up slowly, resting his back against the headboard. The sheets fell around him in folds of deep crimson and black, catching the morning light. "Now," he said, "the court will know." Ariel tensed. "About us? Yes. They will sense it on me," a brief pause, "and on you." Ariel's cheeks flushed deeper. "Is that bad for them?" Valor's voice darkened. "Yes. For you?" Ariel whispered. Valor turned his gaze fully on him. It was steady, fierce, unshakable. "For me, it changes everything." Ariel bit his lip. "Because I'm a divine Omega? No." Valor reached out, tilting Ariel's chin gently. "Because you're mine." The word hit Ariel like a shock, warm, frightening, grounding all at once. He looked down, suddenly shy. "You shouldn't say that so easily." "It's not easy," Valor said. "It's true." Silence settled again, comfortable but heavy with the consequences surrounding them. Ariel finally whispered, "Will they accept me?" Valor's expression darkened, protective and dangerous. "They will—" His voice was low, quiet, deadly. "Or I will remake the court until they do." Ariel met his eyes, truly met them. The king wasn't posturing. He wasn't threatening blindly. "He meant it, Valor." Ariel breathed, overwhelmed. "You can't, I can." The king leaned forward, lowering his forehead to Ariel's. "And I will not allow this kingdom to harm you. Not now. Not ever." Ariel felt the words settle into him. Warm, heavy, strangely comforting, but one thought still gnawed at him. "Do you regret last night?" Ariel asked, voice barely audible. Valor's eyes widened, then softened with something that made Ariel's heart stumble. "No." The king cupped Ariel's cheek with both hands. "I only regret not finding you sooner." Ariel's breath caught. Valor's thumb brushed his cheekbone. "You chose me," the king whispered. "I won't forget that." Ariel hesitated, then leaned into his touch. Outside, trumpets blared from the palace towers. Valor's expression hardened instantly. "They've sensed it," he said. "Every alpha in the palace knows the divine Omega has awakened." Ariel's pulse jumped. "What do we do?" Valor slid out of bed, standing tall, fierce, incredibly regal in the early light. His eyes glowed gold. Wolf and king both awakened. "We face them," he said. "Together." Ariel took a slow breath and nodded. Valor's gaze softened again as he held out his hand. "Come to me, Ariel." The words held a promise, a command, a plea. Ariel took his hand. The world outside the king's door awaited, and none of it would ever be the same. The sound of trumpets shook the palace grounds. Ariel followed Valor through the royal corridor, which felt longer and more ominous than usual. Marble floors gleamed beneath their feet. Sunlight streamed through tall windows. And yet Ariel felt exposed, as if 100 eyes were watching, because they were— Every guard they passed bowed to the king, but their nostrils flared at Ariel, some shocked, some furious, some afraid. Valor's grip on Ariel's hand tightened. "Ignore them." "I'm trying," Ariel murmured. "Their eyes are sharp." "They won't touch you," Valor said, voice cold. "Not while I draw breath." They entered the great council hall. The moment the doors opened, the noise exploded. Growls, gasps, outrage, disbelief. The nobles had gathered, alpha lords, beta ministers, even mystics and priestesses. A sea of wolves in finery. At the far end sat the council dais, 5 high seats, ornate and carved with ancient sigils, and in the center stood Alpha General Kairos. A tall, broad-shouldered warrior with storm-gray eyes and hair tied in a warrior's knot. His presence was intimidating, calm but coiled with power. At his left stood Lady Lysandra, a beta aristocrat known for her venomous tongue and immaculate appearance. Her icy blue eyes widened when she saw Ariel, then narrowed dangerously. Behind her lounged Prince Rakan, Valor's younger cousin, slender, fox-like, with a lazy grin and eyes that gleamed with mischief and ambition. Ariel stiffened. So many powerful figures, so many threats. Valor stepped forward, clearing the air with a single growl. Silence. The hall fell instantly quiet. Kairos crossed his arms. Your Majesty, you arrived scented, a polite way to say, you reeks of claiming an Omega. Valor didn't flinch, because I did not hide it. Murmurs rippled through the hall. Lysandra stepped forward, voice dripping with poison. Your Majesty, surely there is some mistake. That human cannot. Valor snapped. He is no longer human. A gasp ran through the chamber. Ariel's heart pounded. Lysandra's lip curled. What is he, then? Ariel swallowed hard as Valor pulled him gently forward so all could see. A divine Omega, Valor said, chosen by the moon goddess herself. Shock, outrage, fear. The hall erupted. Prince Rakan leaned forward, smirking as he examined Ariel from a distance. Well, that explains the glow. Kairos's eyes narrowed with far more seriousness. Then he is priceless. And in danger. That warning silenced even the loudest nobles. Ariel's stomach twisted. Danger? Kairos continued, gaze sharp. A divine Omega is an omen. A blessing or a curse. The kingdoms to the east will fight to obtain him. Assassins will surely come. Ariel felt his knees weaken. Valor stepped closer, shielding him. No one will touch him. But Kairos wasn't done. Your Majesty. If the boy is divine, then there are consequences. Such an Omega does not simply appear. Ariel felt the attention shift to him again, heavy, piercing. Rakan raised a brow. Indeed. Some say a divine Omega's awakening forces fate to move, forces destiny to turn. Lysandra's eyes gleamed. Some say such a creature is the harbinger of war. Whispers broke out, fearful, eager, suspicious. Ariel's breath caught. War? Valor growled loudly enough to shake dust from the rafters. You speak too boldly. Lysandra bowed insincerely. I speak only for the safety of our kingdom. Kairos stepped forward. Your Majesty, what do you plan to do with him? Keep him concealed? Guard him? Announce him? Valor looked down at Ariel, and his expression softened, just slightly. Then he turned to the council. I plan, the king said slowly, to take him as my future mate. The hall exploded, shouts, growls, hissing disbelief. You cannot. The goddess would not approve. He's human-born. This is forbidden. He'll weaken the royal bloodline. He's untrained. He's a danger. Valor's aura flared. Golden light shimmered around him, pulsing like a heartbeat. His eyes glowed, pupils turning lupine. I told you, the king said darkly. I do not. Hide. Ariel shivered. Kairos alone remained steady. If you announce this, factions will rise. Some will try to control the Omega. Others will try to kill him. Valor stepped in front of Ariel completely. Let them try. But Kairos didn't back down. Your Majesty, forgive me, but they will. A chilling silence fell. Then Kairos added quietly, because prophecy foretold him. Ariel's head jerked up what Lysandra paled. Rakan's smirk vanished. Even Valor stiffened. Kairos lifted his gaze toward the huge moon crest above the dais. A divine Omega born from a human womb, he recited. Will stand beside the Moon King. Together they will decide the fate of the wolf clans, and only one of them will survive. Ariel's blood turned to ice. Valor's claws lengthened. You were going to hide that from me, the king growled. Kairos bowed his head. Because I prayed the prophecy was wrong. Ariel felt his breath shatter. Only one of them will survive. Valor turned, gripping Ariel's shoulders tightly, eyes burning with desperation and fury. I will not lose you. Ariel could barely whisper, Valor, what does this prophecy mean? Before the king could answer, the palace doors slammed open. A messenger stumbled in, trembling, chest heaving as he shouted, Your Majesty, the Eastern Kingdom has moved their armies to our border. Gasps filled the hall. Kairos cursed under his breath. Valor's eyes went wide. The prophecy was already taking shape, and they were running out of time. The council erupted into chaos. War, prophecy, a divine Omega, a human-born mate. Ariel could hardly breathe with the noise crashing around him. Desperate eyes, snarling faces, whispers like blades cutting the air. Valor stepped in front of him again, blocking most of it, but the storm still pressed in from all sides. Kairos slammed his spear into the marble floor with a crack that silenced the hall. We must prepare the army, he declared. The Eastern Kingdom does nothing without purpose. If they've moved their legions, they know. They know about Ariel. Rakan leaned casually against a pillar. And they want him. Lysandra folded her arms, eyes cold. Or they want to kill him before he strengthens your line. Ariel shuddered. Valor growled, aura flaring gold. No one touches him. He grabbed Ariel's hand, surprising the court with the boldness of it. Kiros exhaled, jaw tight. Then you must protect him properly. Every divine Omega is hunted. The world will tear itself apart for him. Ariel's voice trembled. Why? What am I? Kairos turned to him fully. A blessing, a weapon, a prophecy, a cure, a curse. His gaze hardened. Every kingdom believes something different. Ariel took a step back. Dizzy. I didn't choose this. That is why it's dangerous, Lysandra muttered. Valor bared his fangs. Enough. The king's eyes burned like twin suns. From this moment, he commanded, Ariel is under royal protection. Anyone who threatens him will answer to me. The hall fell silent under his dominance, but Lysandra lifted her chin, defiant. And if Ariel threatens you, your majesty, what then? Valor froze. Ariel stiffened. Kairos muttered a curse. Lysandra smiled thinly. The prophecy is clear. Only one of you survives. The tension snapped like a drawn bowstring. Valor descended the dais with lethal calm, stopping only inches from Lysandra. His voice was a whisper of danger. If you speak of that prophecy again, Lady Lysandra, I will remove your tongue. Chills swept the court. Even Rakan whistled softly. Well, things just got interesting. Kairos cleared his throat. Your Majesty, the armies, Kairos. Valor cut him off. Ready the battalions. Quietly. No panic. Kairos bowed. As you command. Valor turned to Ariel. The moment their eyes met, the world quieted. Come with me. He took Ariel's hand again, gentler this time, and led him out of the hall through a side corridor. Only when they were far from prying ears did Ariel finally speak. Valor, am I really the cause of this war? You are not the cause. Valor stopped walking, pulling Ariel into a private alcove between columns. You are the reason they're afraid. Ariel swallowed. And the prophecy, only one of us. I don't care. Valor placed a hand against the wall beside Ariel's head, trapping him in a protective cage of warmth and shadow. Prophecies are warnings, not truth. But I will not lose you. Ariel's breath hitched as the king leaned in, forehead resting against his. That night in the temple, Valor whispered, I felt something awaken in you, something ancient. He touched Ariel's chest softly, and it called to me. Ariel trembled under the intimacy of the moment. Are you sure it wasn't just instinct? Valor's golden eyes softened. Instinct brought me to you. He brushed Ariel's cheek with his thumb. Choice made me stay. Ariel's heart fluttered, aching, frightened, hopeful. Valor, if things go wrong because of me. The king silenced him gently with a touch to his lips. Nothing goes wrong because of you. His voice lowered. It goes wrong because the world is greedy. A moment of quiet passed between them. Warm, close, almost a kiss, but more. Tender, Ariel whispered, thank you. Valor exhaled shakily. I am yours to thank, or to blame. Ariel's breath caught. The king brushed his lips lightly, just barely, against Ariel's forehead. A vow, a promise, a warning. Tonight, Valor murmured, you will be moved to the moon chamber. It is the most protected room in the palace. Ariel blinked. Will I be alone there? Not if you don't wish to be. Ariel's cheeks warmed. I don't. Valor chuckled softly, brushing a hand through Ariel's hair. Then I will stay until you sleep. Before Ariel could answer, footsteps echoed down the corridor. A guard ran toward them, breathless. Your Majesty, an envoy from the Eastern Kingdom has arrived. Their prince demands an audience. Ariel froze. Kairos's warning echoed in his mind. The Eastern Kingdom wants him. Valor straightened, face turning to stone. Send him to the Iron Hall, he commanded, and double the guards. The messenger ran off. Ariel gripped Valor's arm. The prince. He can't be here. Valor cupped his face gently. I will not let him near you. But even as he said it, Ariel sensed something dark moving beneath the surface. The prince had come sooner than expected, and he wasn't here for diplomacy. The Iron Hall was colder than the rest of the palace. Stone columns rose like the ribs of a giant beast, and iron torches burned with blue fire, an old magic meant to suppress hostile auras. Even Valor disliked meeting guests here, but today it was necessary. Aeril hovered behind the king, half hidden by Valor's cloak. He wasn't supposed to be here. Kairos had insisted it was unsafe. Lysandra had demanded he be locked away. But Valor had said one thing: I will not hide him. The guards opened the door. Inside waited the envoy, or rather, one man. Standing alone, he was tall and striking. Long dark hair tied back with a silver clasp, skin sun-bronzed, eyes sharp and slanted, gleaming like obsidian. His clothes were woven with red and black silk, embroidered with phoenix feathers. He turned smoothly when Valor entered. His gaze brushed over the king with polite respect. But when it landed on Aeril, everything changed. The air sharpened. His pupils dilated. A chill crawled down Aeril's spine. Valor immediately stepped in front of him. Prince Kael, Valor said coldly. Your arrival was unexpected. Prince Kael smiled slowly, confidently. Your Majesty. I left the moment I sensed the divine awakening, as any wise leader would. He folded his hands in mock humility. A divine omega is a rare miracle. Naturally, my father wishes to offer congratulations. Lies. Aeril felt it instantly. Valor's jaw tightened. You came to see him. Kael's eyes flicked toward Aeril again, lingering too long. You hide him behind your cape, Kael observed lightly. As though he were a stolen jewel. Valor growled softly. Aeril felt heat rise to his cheeks. I am not a jewel. Kael's gaze slid over him like a blade, assessing, calculating. On the contrary, you are priceless. Valor's aura flared dangerously. Kael raised a hand. Peace, King Valor. I mean no insult. His eyes returned to Aeril with a slow smile. My kingdom has long believed the prophecy would manifest in this era. But I admit, I expected someone older. Perhaps more battle-tested. Aeril bristled, embarrassed and irritated. I didn't ask for this. Few do, Kael said softly. Yet the moon chooses as she wishes. Valor stepped fully between them. If you are here to negotiate for him, leave. Kael chuckled. Negotiate. He glanced at Aeril again. No, not today. He paced a few steps, hands behind his back. I merely wish to observe him, to understand him. His smile sharpened, to see whether the prophecy favors him or destroys him. Aeril's chest tightened. Valor snapped. You will not speak that way. Kael raised an eyebrow. Why? Because it frightens him. Or because it frightens you? Valor moved faster than air. Suddenly he was inches from Kael, golden eyes blazing. You will leave this hall, the king growled. Before I forget diplomacy. Kael didn't flinch, but his smile thinned. I see, he murmured. The mighty Alpha King is afraid. Valor's voice dropped to a dark whisper. I am angry, and that is far worse. Kael exhaled, a quiet sound that wasn't quite disappointment, nor fear. I will take my leave, he said. Then to Aeril. You are fascinating. I hope our countries do not go to war before I understand you better. Aeril stiffened. Kael bowed once more, then turned to go. But as he passed Aeril, he paused, just long enough to whisper, Be careful, Divine One. Wolves devour what they claim. A shiver ran through Aeril. Valor's hand closed protectively around his wrist. Kael straightened, expression unreadable, and strode out of the hall. The heavy doors slammed shut behind him. Silence. Aeril swallowed. He hates me. No, Valor said, pulling him into his arms firmly. He wants you. Aeril's breath hitched. That is worse. Valor rested his forehead on Aeril's temple. I will not let him touch you. I will not allow anyone to use you. Aeril felt Valor's hand slide down his back, steady, warm, grounding. What if he attacks? Aeril whispered. Then he dies. Aeril pulled back slightly, surprised. You can't kill a prince. I can, Valor said. His voice held no hesitation. And I will. Aeril's heartbeat accelerated, not out of fear, but because the king's protectiveness burned like wildfire. Valor's voice softened, full of raw honesty. I would raise kingdoms before letting anyone take you. Aeril's chest tightened, warmth flooding through him. A confession without saying the words. He looked up at the king, Valor. Before anything more could be said, Kiros burst into the hall, grim and breathless. Your Majesty, emergency. Valor turned sharply. What now? Kiros looked at Aeril, then lowered his voice. There was an assassination attempt, in the moon chamber. Ariel froze. Kairos continued. We killed 2. A third escaped. Their scent, east wind and fire iron. Valor's eyes darkened with pure, lethal fury. They came for him. Kairos nodded once. They will come again. Valor's aura ignited. Then we will be ready. Ariel felt the first true tremor of fear since all this began. Because this time, it was not prophecy, not politics, not rumors. It was real. Someone was trying to kill him. Ariel couldn't stop trembling. Assassins, prophecy, war, now. The prince's strange interest. It was too much. Valor brought him into his private chamber and shut the door with a slam that shook the hinges. His aura was sharp with fury, but the moment he turned around, his expression softened, raw worry breaking through his anger. Ariel, he murmured, stepping closer. Look at me. Ariel raised his eyes, trying, and failing, to hide the fear. Valor cupped his shoulders. Are you hurt? No, Ariel whispered. But they wanted to kill me. They won't. Valor pulled him into a fierce embrace. I swear it. Ariel trembled against his chest, part fear, part an ache he couldn't explain. Everything inside him felt strange, warm, heavy, swirling. It wasn't illness. It wasn't exhaustion. Something deeper was shifting inside him. Valor rested his chin atop Ariel's head. You're shaking, sit. He guided Ariel to a cushioned divan near the fireplace, kneeling in front of him as if Ariel were royalty instead of the king. Ariel flushed. You shouldn't kneel like that. I will kneel, Valor murmured, for only 2 things, the goddess, and you. Ariel's breath caught, but before he could respond, Valor suddenly stiffened. His nostrils flared, slowly, disbelievingly. Then, his golden eyes widened. Ariel, he whispered, voice hoarse. Your scent. Ariel blinked. My what? Valor leaned in instinctively, close enough that Ariel felt the king's breath against his throat. Not predatory, not lustful, instinctive, disbelieving, overwhelmed. Your scent changed. Ariel felt heat spread across his cheeks. Changed how? Valor swallowed, richer, warmer, sweet, but deep. He exhaled shakily. A preheat scent doesn't change like this. Ariel frowned. Then what does it mean? Valor hesitated, long enough to terrify him. Then he whispered, it smells like the beginning of conception. Ariel went still, completely still. What? Valor, that's impossible. Last night, nothing happened. Nothing explicit. We didn't. I know, Valor said. He brushed Ariel's cheek tenderly, calming him. But you're a divine Omega. The rules of bonded fate are not the same for you. Ariel pressed a hand to his chest. His heart thudded in uneven rhythms. But I can't be. Valor placed a warm palm over Ariel's trembling hands. I won't claim certainty, the king said softly. But the scent is unmistakable. Ariel's mind spun. Pregnancy? From nothing but divine resonance? A bond that awakened too deeply? His stomach fluttered. Not fear, something else, something warm, something like possibility. But before he could speak, the door burst open. Kairos stormed in. Your Majesty, Prince Kyle demands. He froze when he saw Valor kneeling in front of Ariel, holding his hands intimately. Odors of shock and confusion rippled through the room. Kairos inhaled, eyes narrowing. Your scent's different, Ariel. Valor growled instantly. Don't say it. Kairos's jaw tightened. Your Majesty, this complicates everything. Before Valor could snap back, another knock sounded at the door, a soft voice. Your Majesty? It is Prince Kyle. I wish to speak with Ariel. Ariel flinched. Valor rose with a deep, rumbling growl that shook the room. The king opened the door just a crack, enough to glare at Kyle with the fury of a storm god. Yes? Valor growled. Kyle didn't look at Valor. He was staring past him, at Ariel. The prince's eyes darkened with fascination, like a predator catching the scent of something rare. His aroma has changed, Kyle murmured. How intriguing. Ariel's pulse jumped. Valor's claws scraped the stone. You will not smell him. Kyle lifted a brow, clearly amused. Protective, are we? Valor stepped into the doorway, blocking Kyle's view entirely. Say what you came to say. Kyle smiled. I have gifts for the divine Omega. No. They are protective charms from our sacred temples. No. Valor repeated, voice deadly. Kyle tilted his head mockingly. You act as though he is already carrying your... Valor slammed the door in his face. Silence. Ariel couldn't breathe for a moment. Kairos exhaled. Your Majesty, the Eastern Prince knows. Valor turned back toward Ariel. Fear, possessiveness, devotion, all burning in his eyes. You stay with me, Valor said, voice raw. No more walking alone, no more meetings, no more open halls. You don't leave my sight. Ariel's breath shook. Because of the assassins? No, Valor said softly, stepping closer. Because he smelled the same thing I did. Ariel's pulse quickened. Valor, you may be carrying my child, the king said quietly. And now every kingdom in the world will want you even more. Jealousy, fear, love, all twisted inside him. Ariel whispered, voice barely holding together. What do we do now? Valor took his hands again, his voice trembling with fierce certainty. Now, Ariel, I don't let anyone take you from me. The moment Valor declared Ariel would not leave his sight, he acted on it. He carried Ariel, not escorted, not guided, carried to his private wing, ignoring every stunned guard and advisor along the way. His arms were firm but gentle, as though Ariel were something fragile and precious. Ariel clung to the king's cloak, face flushing. You don't have to carry me. I can walk. Valor didn't slow. I don't want you to walk, he said quietly. I want you safe. Kairos followed behind, worried. Your Majesty, Prince Kael's presence is causing unrest. Half the court is whispering. Let them whisper, Valor snapped. When they reached the moon chamber, now guarded by 20 elite wolves, Valor finally set Ariel down. The moment their feet touched the floor, dizziness washed over Ariel. Everything blurred. Ariel? Valor caught him immediately. What's wrong? I don't know. His hands shook. His chest tightened. A strange heat pulsed through his core. Kairos scented the air and stiffened. That's not illness. That's early bonding resonance. Valor turned sharply. Meaning? Kairos hesitated. His body is responding to yours, faster than expected. Ariel's face went pale. But that means... Yes, Kairos said softly, it means your body may be preparing for... pregnancy. Ariel sank into Valor's arms, overwhelmed. Valor held him tight, eyes burning with worry, and something darker, possession, territory, love. Breathe, Valor whispered. I'm here. Ariel took a trembling breath, leaning against him. His body felt strange, sensitive, warm, pulsing with something like moonlight. Why is it happening so fast? Ariel whispered. Kairos lowered his voice. Divine Omegas don't follow normal cycles. Once a bond forms, their bodies respond almost automatically. It's instinct, amplified by fate. Valor's grip tightened around Ariel's waist. His voice was low, dangerous, and now everyone will want him even more. Kairos nodded, especially Kael. As if summoned by the mention of his name, the doors to the moon chamber opened. Prince Kael strode in. 4 guards immediately crossed their spears. You cannot enter. Kael lifted a scroll. A diplomatic seal from my kingdom. I have permission. Valor snarled. I didn't grant permission. Your council did, Kael said smoothly. Lysandra appeared behind him, smiling thinly. Your Majesty, with tensions rising, it is important to maintain diplomatic courtesy. Get out, Valor growled. But Kael's eyes were locked on Ariel, and the moment he scented the air, his expression changed. The prince inhaled deeply, slowly, like a wolf savoring the aroma of prey. Ariel flinched back instinctively. Valor stepped in front of him, aura exploding in gold fire. Kael's voice dropped to a whisper of awe. He is changing. Don't you dare touch him. Kael tilted his head. I don't need to touch him to confirm it. The scent is unmistakable. He smiled, not kindly. The divine Omega carries a spark. Ariel's heart raced. Kairos cursed under his breath. Lysandra gasped, but in fascination, not concern. Kael's eyes gleamed with something hungry. Do you know what this means, King Valor? He asked softly. That prophecy was not about your union, Valor snarled, stop speaking, but about your offspring. Silence crashed down. Ariel's breath caught. His vision blurred. Pregnancy? Prophecy? Offspring? His knees weakened again. Valor caught him, holding him close, growling, Don't push him. Kael ignored the warning entirely. A divine Omega child, Kael said, would be powerful enough to unite, or shatter, every kingdom. Valor's aura surged like a golden storm. If you finish that sentence, I will tear your throat out. Kael smiled faintly. Jealousy does not suit you, Your Majesty. Valor's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. It suits me when someone threatens what is mine. Airael stiffened. Kael's eyes flickered in interest. So he really is yours. Valor pulled Airael closer, arm wrapped protectively around his waist. Yes. And I won't say it again. Kael's eyes softened with something unnervingly gentle. Divine One, I wish to offer my kingdom's sanctuary. If you are afraid, you may... Valor roared. Don't offer him anything. The walls shook, guards flinched, Kairos stepped back, unsure if Valor was about to attack. Kael simply smiled, undeterred. You cannot guard him alone, Valor. The world is stirring. And if he is pregnant... A vicious growl cut him off. Valor pushed Airael behind him, claws half-shifted, eyes glowing. If you speak another word about him, or my child, I will break this alliance and snap your spine across my throne. Even Kael's smile wavered at that. Lysandra whispered urgently. Prince Kael, we should leave. Kael paused, then bowed slightly, gaze still on Airael. This is not over. When he finally left the chamber, the doors slammed shut and were locked by 6 guards. Airael exhaled shakily. Valor turned to him immediately, taking his face in both hands. Airael, look at me. Airael lifted teary eyes. I'm scared, he admitted. Everything's changing. My body, the prophecy, and Kael. Valor pulled him into his chest. I know. His voice trembled. Not with fear, but with protectiveness so fierce it bordered on worship. No one will take you from me. He pressed his forehead against Airael's. No one. Not a prince, not a prophecy, not fate itself, Airael whispered. Even if I'm pregnant? Valor's voice softened into something aching and raw. If you are, then I will guard you with my life, a breath, and I will love whatever comes of us. Airael's heart fluttered painfully. Safe, scared, wanted, protected, all at once. Airael had barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes he saw flashes. A silver cradle, moonlight on a child's forehead, a howl echoing across a battlefield. When the first light of dawn softened the edges of the room, he found Valor already awake beside him, propped on one elbow and watching him quietly. You were dreaming again, the king said gently. Airael swallowed, voice faint. I saw. The child. Our child. Valor's eyes softened with awe and fear. Are you certain? I don't know if it was a vision or just nerves. He touched his lower abdomen instinctively. But something is there, Valor. Something growing. Valor's hand covered Airael's, warm, steady, protective. Then the king murmured, We should see the healers. Before Airael could respond, a loud knock echoed through the room. Kairos entered, followed by Lysandra, both looking pale and tense. Kairos bowed quickly. Your Majesty, the Moon Council demands immediate audience. Now? Valor growled. Airael is not. It's about the prophecy, Kairos interrupted. And Prince Kael. Airael stiffened. Valor's aura flared instantly. What did he do? Lysandra stepped forward, voice steady but strained. Kael petitioned the council at dawn. He claims that, due to the divine nature of Airael's transformation, all kingdoms have a right to guard the unborn heir, not just yours. Airael's stomach twisted. No. Valor's fury trembled through the floor. He is suggesting custody over my mate and child? Kairos nodded, face grim. And he has support from 3 kingdoms. Airael felt cold. Why would they want? Power, Lysandra said softly. A divine Omega child would shape the future of every kingdom. Some see you as a blessing, others. She hesitated. As a weapon. Valor moved instantly, pulling Airael into his arms, not roughly but with unrestrained urgency. They'll take him over my dead body, which is exactly why they called the council, Kairos said quietly. They're afraid of you, Valor. They fear you'll keep Airael hidden. They fear your dynasty becoming unstoppable. Airael's pulse pounded. What do we do? Valor looked at him, eyes blazing with vow and vow-breaking desperation. We end it today. The chamber was enormous, circular, lit by ethereal blue fire. Representatives from all 5 kingdoms stood waiting. The moment Ariel entered, the room went silent. The air thickened with interest, awe, and hunger. Kyle stepped forward, dressed in ceremonial silver. "Divine One," he greeted softly. But his eyes slid to Ariel's abdomen, unmistakably. Valor blocked the view immediately. "Speak your piece," the king growled. Kyle lifted a scroll. "The prophecy states the divine Omega child must be protected by all kingdoms equally. Therefore, I propose—" "No," Valor said instantly. Kyle didn't falter. "You cannot refuse a joint guardianship if the child is of fate." Ariel whispered, "I am not an object to divide." Kyle's gaze flickered, something like guilt flashing for the first time. "You misunderstand. My intent is not to divide you, it is to ensure your safety. The world will turn to chaos when news spreads. You need more than one kingdom's protection." Valor's claws glinted. "He doesn't need an army of strangers. He has me. And who will guard him from you?" Kyle said quietly. The room froze. "What did you just say?" Valor's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. Kyle didn't look away. "You are a good king. But your possessiveness is legendary. If the bond drives you to madness, who protects Ariel then?" Ariel felt Valor tense. "Stop," Ariel said, stepping between them. Both alphas halted instantly. His voice trembled but held. "I don't want a war fought over my body. Or my child. I want peace." Kyle bowed his head respectfully. "And peace is the reason I call for shared guardianship." Valor's jaw tightened. "And I call for Ariel's choice." Silence swept the chamber. Kyle hesitated, then nodded. "Very well. Let the Divine One choose." All eyes turned to Ariel. The flames flickered. The moon goddess's statue glowed faintly behind him. Ariel took a breath, and spoke with more certainty than he knew he had. "I choose Valor." Gasps filled the chamber. Kyle closed his eyes, pain flickering through him. Not surprise. "Pain? Why?" Kyle whispered. Ariel met his gaze steadily. "Because he doesn't want to own me. He wants to protect me." He looked back at Valor. "And because when the bond scares me, he holds me instead of hiding me." Valor's expression broke, open, vulnerable, overwhelmed. Kyle exhaled slowly, then bowed not in defeat, but acceptance. "Then I will withdraw my petition." Shock rippled through the room. "Prince Kyle," the delegates protested, "this shifts the balance." Kyle raised a hand. "Peace is worth more than prophecy." His gaze softened toward Ariel. "I trust your choice, truly," and for the first time, Ariel believed him. When the chamber emptied, Valor turned to Ariel, eyes shimmering with emotion he rarely showed. "You chose me." "I did," Ariel whispered. Valor cupped his face gently. "I won't fail that trust. Not today. Not ever." Ariel leaned into his touch. Then, "Stay with me." "Until the end?" Valor exhaled a trembling breath. "There is no end, Ariel. Not for us." But Ariel didn't believe it. A tightening ache twisted in his abdomen. Small, faint, but undeniably real. And something told him that the prophecy wasn't finished. Not yet. Not by a long shot. The ache in Ariel's abdomen had not been an illusion. By the time Valor guided him back to the moon chamber, Ariel's breaths had shortened, a soft glow blooming beneath his skin like liquid moonlight. Kiros knelt beside him instantly. "Your aura is spiking. This is early manifestation. It's too soon." Ariel clutched Valor's arm. "I don't understand. I'm not even far along. How can I already feel?" A pulse of silver light radiated from his core. Valor gathered him into his arms, voice shaking. "What's happening to him?" Kairos' expression darkened with awe and fear. The prophecy mentioned this, the awakening of the unborn. He looked at Ariel with reverence. "Your child is accelerating the bond. It's calling to the moon goddess." Ariel's fingers tightened around Valor's cloak. "Valor, I'm scared." The king kissed his forehead gently, fiercely. "I'm here. I won't let anything take you from me." The chamber darkened suddenly. Then, from the ceiling of the temple, moonlight poured like liquid water, spiraling down until it formed into a shimmering figure. The moon goddess, tall, luminous, eyes like galaxies. Her voice echoed through the hall. "The child stirs. The moment of fate arrives." Valor bowed instinctively, but Ariel couldn't move. The goddess's gaze was fixed solely on him. "Why now?" Ariel whispered. "Why so soon?" Because your heart has chosen, the goddess said gently, and the child responds to love. Ariel felt tears prick his eyes. Valor stepped forward, placing himself protectively between Ariel and the divine figure. What must happen? The king demanded. Tell me what he needs. The goddess's eyes softened at Valor's devotion. The child within him burns with divine fire, she said. It is too powerful for mortals to bear in an ordinary way. Ariel exhaled shakily. Will it hurt me? The goddess knelt before him, cupping his face with hands made of starlight. No, it will transform you. A soft radiance spilled into his skin, warm, comforting. Ariel felt the pain ease, replaced by a gentle hum. Valor's relief was visible across his entire body. What does this transformation mean? He asked. The goddess's gaze turned solemn. You will become the first divine Omega in 1,000 years. The room went silent. Ariel's breath caught. Valor froze. Divine. Omega? Ariel whispered. Yes, she said. Spirit and flesh entwined. A bridge between gods and wolves. Ariel's heart pounded in his throat. But why me? Because you were the only one strong enough to refuse destiny, the goddess said softly. And therefore, the only one worthy of reshaping it. Valor tightened his grip on Ariel's waist, grounding him. What of the child? Valor asked, voice unwavering. The goddess smiled faintly. The prophecy was misunderstood. She looked to Ariel. You do not carry a weapon, then to Valor, nor a ruler born of war. Her voice softened into something sacred. You carry a blessing who will unite the realms, not through power, but peace. Valor exhaled slowly, relief trembling through him. Kael, standing at the edge of the chamber, bowed his head. Then the goddess's voice deepened with finality. But hear this truth, all of you. The child's future depends not on prophecy, but love. Her gaze swept the room. Fight over him, and the realms will fall. Protect him together, and the future shall flourish. Kael bowed again. I understand, finally, truly, every kingdom drew back. No more fighting, no more jealousy, no claws bared over Ariel's body. Just peace. The goddess placed a hand over Ariel's abdomen. A soft glow radiated outward. Ariel gasped as warmth flooded his body, gentle, not painful, like a heartbeat of light. Valor held him tight. Ariel, are you all right? Ariel leaned against him, breath steadying. I'm okay, better than okay. He placed his hand over Valor's. I feel whole. The goddess rose. Your journey is only beginning. But the turmoil is ended. What comes next will be yours to shape, freely. She turned to Valor. Love him without fear, king of wolves. Valor bowed deeply. I will, and the goddess vanished, leaving only moonlight. A year later, the palace gardens were quiet, bathed in soft morning light. Ariel sat beneath the silver tree, holding a small bundle wrapped in white cloth. The baby's tiny ears twitched, wolf-like, but soft and innocent, and its eyes opened, shimmering with warm gold flecked with moonlit silver. Valor approached silently, wrapping his arms around Ariel. How is our little star? The king whispered. As demanding as his father, Ariel teased. Valor pretended to pout. I prefer devoted, or irresistibly handsome. You're both impossible, Ariel laughed, leaning back against him. Kael visited often now, no longer a rival, but a trusted guardian of peace, bringing gifts and wisdom from his kingdom. Kiros and Lysandra stood watch nearby, ever loyal, their bond stronger than ever. The world had not fallen. The kingdoms had not fought. Instead, they flourished. Ariel looked down at their child, his heart full. Valor? Yes? Ariel smiled softly. Thank you. For choosing me even when I wasn't chosen by destiny. Valor kissed the top of his head. No. He touched Ariel's chin, turning him gently. I chose you because you are my destiny. Ariel's heart fluttered. He leaned up. Valor kissed him tenderly beneath the silver leaves. Their child cooed between them. Ariel laughed. Looks like someone wants attention. Valor grinned. He'll have it. From both of us. Ariel rested his head against Valor's chest, watching the sunlight dance through the branches. For the first time in his life, he felt no fear, no doubt, no threat looming, just peace, family, and love. The story had begun with rejection, but ended with a kingdom built on devotion, a king who chose his mate, a mate who chose freedom, and a child destined not to rule by force, but by the light of two hearts intertwined. Epilogue. 15 years had passed since the child of moon and flame came into the world. The Silver Garden had grown into a sanctuary, a place where wolves, humans, and shifters mingled under the same canopy without fear, a place built from Irael's quiet wisdom and Vaylor's relentless devotion. And beneath the towering moon tree, now fully blossomed, a young boy sat cross-legged on the grass, reading from a weathered scroll. His name was Arion. Eyes like molten gold, speckled with silver light, hair soft, night-black like his father's. A presence that felt both gentle and commanding, like moonfire wrapped in calm dawn air. He was the realm's first divine-born child in a millennium. But to his parents, he was simply their son. Arion, Ariel called softly from the path. You're supposed to be training with Master Kairos. Arion looked up with a mischievous smile that was very much inherited from his other father. I was. But Kairos got distracted flirting with Master Lysandra again. Ariel sighed dramatically. Ah, yes, the eternal romance that refuses to confess itself. Arion's grin widened. I'm rooting for them. So am I, Ariel admitted. He lowered himself to sit beside his son, brushing a hand through Arion's hair. You're growing so fast, Ariel murmured. Sometimes I wish time would slow down. Arion leaned against him. But then I wouldn't be able to protect you. Ariel's heart squeezed. You don't have to protect me, little moon. That's my job, always. Arion shook his head stubbornly. That's Father's job. Your job is teaching peace. Mine is, I don't know yet. You'll find your path in time, Ariel said gently. There's no rush. But Arion's golden eyes flickered. Sometimes I feel something calling me, like a voice in the wind. Ariel frowned. Are you in pain? No, just pulled, like destiny knocking on the door. Ariel's breath caught. He remembered all too well what destiny could demand. Before he could answer, a warm hand slid across his shoulder. Vaylor. The Alpha King knelt behind him, pressing a gentle kiss to Ariel's hair and resting a hand on Arion's head with fatherly pride. I heard someone escaped training, Vaylor announced. Arion flopped onto the grass dramatically. Kairos was sparring with Lysandra again. It's not my fault, Vaylor chuckled. I suppose that counts as unavoidable circumstances. He sat beside Ariel, their shoulders touching. Easy, familiar, like two halves of a whole that had long since learned peace. How are you feeling? Vaylor asked Ariel quietly. Ariel smiled. Today? Light. Vaylor intertwined their fingers. Good. You deserve that. Arion made a face. You two are being mushy again. Get used to it, Vaylor said. We're never stopping. Ariel laughed softly, leaning into him. Warmth, love, and history wrapped around them like a soft cloak. A vision of the future. Arion suddenly grew quiet. Father? Daddy? He murmured. Both parents turned toward him immediately. What is it? Ariel asked, concern rising. Arion's eyes glowed faintly, not frightening but wondrous. Someone is coming, he whispered, far away. Someone who will change everything again. Vaylor stiffened. Is it danger? Arion shook his head. No, not danger. Just important. Who? Ariel whispered. Arion closed his eyes. I don't know, he answered softly, but they're calling to me. A shiver ran down Ariel's spine, not fear, recognition, the beginning of a new prophecy, a new story. Vaylor placed his hands on Arion's shoulders, grounding him. Whatever comes, he said firmly, we'll face it together. Ariel nodded, taking Arion's hand. You're not alone. You never will be. Arion smiled, bright, warm, full of promise, and when he looked between his two fathers, his voice held no fear at all. I know. As the sun set, painting the Silver Garden in gold and lavender, the three of them sat beneath the moon tree, watching petals drift on the breeze. Ariel leaned against Vaylor. Vaylor rested his chin on Ariel's head. Arion curled up beside them, head in Ariel's lap. Peace, family, light. The child of moon and flame had not brought war, but hope. And though destiny whispered of future journeys, future choices, and future power, none of it could overshadow the truth that ruled their lives now. Love had won, and would continue to win for generations to come, for realms yet unshaped. For every dawn that followed this quiet, perfect moment under the moon tree. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Kindly comment below if you loved it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more amazing content. Drop a comment with your favorite moment, and I'll see you in the next one.